Good afternoon, everybody. Robbie, thank you. Thank you, Sri. Thank you to the Chani Group, and it's a pleasure to be here. I want to serve you today. I want to serve you by lighting another fuse inside your heart and soul that will inspire you to go bigger and bolder than you've ever gone. I want you to understand the power each of you have to change the world. The power to uplift humanity, especially here in India, where the capacity of brilliance, right, the intellect, the intelligence, the youth, is co-temporal and co-resident with the need. It's a beautiful correlation. You know, I teach that the world's biggest problems are the world's biggest business opportunities. If you want to become a billionaire, help 1 billion people. All of that is fertile in the soil here in India. One of you, many of you, have the chance to transform the planet. There's nothing that you're missing, other than perhaps the choice and decision in your mind to do it. So, made the greatest leaders on the planet successful. Elon Musk, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Steve Jobs, whomever it might be. What made them successful? Was it the money they had? Was it the technology they had? Was it the friends? Was it where they were born? Or was it maybe their mindset? I think it was their mindset. Hope you agree with me, right? If you took away everything from them, but they retained their mindset, my bet is that they would regain their success. So if you believe that their mindset was their most important asset for impact, for success, then my question for you is, what mindset do you have? Where did you get that mindset? And more importantly, what mindset do you need for the decade ahead? We're about to go on a journey here over the next hour or so, and then with the questions that you ask afterwards, and I believe that you will see a world that is going to be drastically and dramatically different, not in 30 years or 20 years or 10 years, in the next 5 years. And the mindset that you have presence with during this period of dramatic change is going to determine whether you're in a state of fear during that change or a state of possibility. So, I'm going to cover a number of mindsets. The first, for me, is the most important. It's a massive transformative purpose. It's a purpose-driven mindset. It's this quote from Mark Twain, who said, "There are 2 important days in your life, the day you were born and the day that you found out why." And so my question for you is, do you know why you're on this planet? Do you have something that wakes you up in the morning and powers you through the day and gives thanks to the universe that you have that MTP? For me, when I was growing up, that MTP was opening up the space frontier, and it was so powerful, it drove everything I did. And I thank myself for that. And as I go around the world right now and I ask, do you know what your purpose in life is? I found the vast majority do not. And so if you're one of those individuals, let me say to you, it's the single most important thing. If you understand your purpose, why you're here on the planet, there are no barriers that will stop you. There is nothing that will slow you down. So your job is to go and find that purpose. Not where you're going to make money, not how you're going to become famous, not making your parents or your teachers proud of you. It's that innate purpose in your heart and your soul, and it's driven by emotion that wakes you up in the morning, keeps you going at night, because when you connect with that power source, it's near infinite. And as you hit walls and struggles, you'll power through them. So the single first mindset is finding your purpose-driven life. We can talk about that in the Q&A. How do you find it? I can share some thoughts with you. The second mindset is the mindset that I use to create Singularity University and what Machani Group here is operating on, and it's the notion that every one of you here today have the ability, and I think the responsibility, to positively impact the lives of 1 billion people. That's what 10 to the 9th plus thinking means. It's an exponential mindset. It's the notion that historically, if you're a government, perhaps you could impact tens of millions, hundreds of millions 100 years ago. Then it was the robber barons, the industrialists, who could impact lives. Today, any one of us with access to the internet, to the technologies in our world, have the ability to positively impact the lives of 1 billion. And I believe if you can, we must. That should be our objective, uplifting humanity. So 10 to the 9th plus thinking, impacting lives of 1 billion people. Another part of this, Ray Kurzweil is my co-founder of Singularity University. He's considered one of the most brilliant people on the planet in the field of AI. He wrote The Singularity is Near, just released his next book, The Singularity is Nearer. And in a conversation with Ray, he said this, and it was very impactful to me, and I want you to feel what this means. We will experience as much technical progress in the next 10 years, in the next decade, as we've made in the past century. So what's it like between 24 and 2034 when the kind of change going on in the universe, in our world, in our industries, is equivalent to the progress since flight, since the automobile? Are we ready for that? Are you thinking in an exponential way, right? If I say to you where you're going to be in 5 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I know in 5 paces I'm sitting right where Ravi is. We're really good at linear thinkers, right? Our brains are wired in a linear fashion. They were designed to say, can I get to the tree before the lion gets to me, right? Just linear projection. But we're living in a world that's exponential. And it's no longer linear. An exponential is simple doubling. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. And if I say, where am I going to be in 30 linear steps, I'm in the back of the room, 30 meters away. If I asked you where you're going to be in 30 exponential steps, unless you have it memorized, few people know in 30 doublings, I'm 1 billion meters away. Put differently, I've gone around the planet 26 times. And the difference between our linear minds, which guide our everyday lives as moms and dads and CEOs and entrepreneurs, and this exponential world that we're investing in building, the difference between that is disruption. If you don't see the exponential change coming, it can put you out of business overnight, or it can elevate you to the top just as quickly. The next mindset is an abundance mindset. You see, as we were evolving on the savannas of Africa, we evolved in a day and age that was baselined with fear and scarcity. Danger was around every corner. We had no idea where to get our next meal. And that's our default mindset. That's the way your inner brain is wired. You have to realize that and protect yourself against that, because being in fear and scarcity, back on your heels, is not the way you want to be, entering this period of exponential growth. The goal instead is having an abundance mindset, an optimistic mindset. I see technology as a force that takes whatever was scarce and makes it abundant. So let me give you an example. You might imagine that we live in a planet where there's a lot of water scarcity, a lot of difficulty getting access to clean water in villages around the world. But we live on a planet that is a water planet. 2/3 of our planet is covered with water, right? 97.5% is salt, 2% is ice. We fight over 0.5% in the rivers and the lakes. But now think of this. What if we could desalinate the oceans or pull water out of the atmosphere? All of a sudden, water goes from being scarce to abundant. And there is nothing actually scarce on the planet. And your job as an entrepreneur, as a leader, is to figure out for your customers, how do you transform scarcity into abundance? My first book, Abundance, The Future is Better Than You Think, it came out now 12 years ago, was based on that realization. It's like, oh my God, it's incredible. Over and over and over again. We used to kill whales to get oil to light our nights. Now we live on a planet with 8,000 times more energy from the sun. It's not that it's not there. It's not in a usable form. Technology takes that energy from the sun and makes it usable. Technology takes the salt water and makes it usable, right? This is the power. This is going from scarcity to abundance. It's understanding what is perceived to be scarce, but not. Next mindset is moonshot thinking. And this is important because it gives you the power to change the world. For most of us, we're happy with 10%, right? As a CEO of a company, if I get 10% more revenues, it's awesome. If I get 10%, lower cost of goods sold, that's amazing. But what about instead of 10%, you could go 10 times, 1,000%? That's what moonshot thinking is. But there's a catch, right? And Ravi, you delved into this. If you're trying to go 10 times bigger than what you've done versus 10%, because you can work hard and get 10%, right? You can really try and optimize to get 10%. But to get 1,000%, you're not going to get there working harder or optimizing. You have to start with a clean sheet of paper. Astro Teller, who's the captain of moonshots at Google, he's the head of Google X, he gives an example. He says, imagine you're an automotive company and you want to go from 50 miles per gallon to 55 miles per gallon, 10%. You can do that, maybe better fuel, maybe more aerodynamics, maybe lighter weight materials. You can squeeze that 10% out. You want to go from 50 miles per gallon to 500 miles per gallon? You're not going to get there optimizing something. You have to start with a clean sheet of paper, right? That's what Elon Musk did with Tesla. That's what he did with SpaceX, clean sheet of paper. My friend Bert Rutan said something I would never forget. The day before something is truly a breakthrough, it's a crazy idea. Now, if you believe me there, right? Because if it wasn't a breakthrough, if it wasn't a crazy idea before, whatever you have today would be an expected incremental improvement, right? Going from this computer 10% faster, that's not a breakthrough. Going from vacuum tubes to silicon, that's a breakthrough. And if it's a crazy idea the day before, now my question for each of you is, where inside your company is your crazy idea department? All right? Where are you trying crazy ideas, accepting them, playing with them, instead of shutting them down right away? Because most of us will shut them down. I don't want to have the risk. I don't want to have the embarrassment. I don't want to lose the money. I don't want to be on the front page of the newspaper. But if you don't embrace crazy ideas, if you don't play with them, try them, incubate them, then breakthroughs will not follow. We can talk about this in the Q&A, and I can share with you the methodologies. And I teach this at Abundance 360. How do you build a moonshot factory? How do you embrace crazy ideas about risking your main profit engine going, right? So Ravi's got his profit engine on his real estate, and he's got his crazy idea departments, right? You need to separate the two. There need to be two different DNA in there. And both of them report in to the CEO. But truly, if you want to change the world, embracing crazy ideas is a critical part of that journey. The last mindset that I'm passionate about, and hopefully you are too, is a longevity mindset. And it's the notion that life is short until you extend it. And we're going to see how exponential technology, in particular artificial intelligence, other technologies like cellular medicines, gene therapies, CRISPRs, all of these things are heading us towards a world where we start to understand, why do we age? How do we slow it? How do we stop it? Perhaps how do we reverse it? And what I want you to understand is that your mindset matters in this. If you believe that you're going to die by age 75 or 80, because that's where your parents were, then that's probably where you go. Each of us have this number in our mind. Why is it valid? The world's very different than your grandparents 75, 80 years ago. So we'll talk about a longevity mindset, which for me is the mindset that says, I'm going to keep myself in the best possible shape to intercept the breakthroughs that are coming, and I will fight against the dying of the light, if you choose to. One of the biggest problems with our world today is that we are being bombarded by negative news all the time. Our brains are 100 billion neurons, 100 trillion synaptic connections, and you can think of our brains as a neural net. Now, hopefully you've been following what's going on in AI, and you understand that a large language model and a neural net are trained by observing example after example after example. And so our neural net, our brain, is wired up and trained by who we hang out with, what's on our walls, what we listen to, what we read, the conversations we have. All of these things are constantly training our neural net. And so if you're watching what I call the Crisis News Network every day, CNN, and you're seeing every murder on the planet delivered to you over and over again in high-definition TV, and every crooked politician, and every problem that exists in every nation, your brain is going to feel like you're in siege, that the world is about to end. Why do you do that to yourself? They couldn't pay me enough money to do that. So I don't watch the news. I don't pick up the newspaper, which has 10 to 1 negative stories to positive stories. I use an AI filter to filter the news, and tech and science is most important to me. My mom will tell me if something's going on in the world I need to know about. But I'm very careful about what I put in my body from food and what I let into my mind to wire my net. You guys with me on that? Yes. Really important. What I'd like to do is take 5-6 minutes to wire your brain towards an abundance mindset, a positive mindset. I want to show you the data, what I call data-driven optimism, that you don't get every day. And it's important to understand that despite all the problems, and yes, there are problems on the planet, absolutely. Abundance brings obesity, abundance brings climate issues, abundance brings mental issues, abundance brings lots of those negative things, but it also overwhelmingly brings incredibly positive things. Let me share with you, please be open to this. I'm going to give you all these slides at the end so you can share it with your family and friends. Over the last 200 years, we have seen extreme poverty around the world plummet from 90% to below 10%. That's miraculous. We've increased the median income, the middle class around the planet on a consistent basis, day in and day out. We've seen global literacy rates climb from 15% to 80%. We've seen kids staying in school longer around the world. We've seen child mortality rates go from near 45% to 5%, still too high. As a father of 2 13-year-old boys, I think about this. There are countries in the world that you would not name your kid until they reached the age 5 because it hurt less if they died. In addition to child mortality rates, we've seen fertility rates drop. Now, this is the challenge, and there's a lot of conversation because I speak about longevity and having people live a lot longer lives, and they say, well, aren't we going to create an overpopulation of the planet? And the answer is no. We have the opposite problem. We have a world in the next few decades where we're going to peak at 9.5 billion, have a very rapid decline. Right? So it used to be, back in 1950s, 60s, we had over 5 children per family. Replacement number is 2.1. Today, we're just under 2.4, very rapidly heading down. So the US is below the replacement level, China, Korea, Japan, most of Europe. And what is likely to happen is a problem in a lot of the world, not here in India perhaps, because India's got a youthful population, where you have an inverted pyramid, where you have an elderly population with no one to take care of them, no one working in the factories. We're going to have AI and robotics support that. But I think about this because the demographics are our destiny. Luckily, we've seen life expectancy go from late 20s, doubling, to over 70, 75. We're going to increase it once again substantially. I'll talk about that. We've seen food supply increase. Calories have gone up consistently over the last 60 years, developed across the board. We've seen deaths from malnutrition drop by a factor of 3. We've seen solar energy plummet dramatically. At the same time, access to electricity, right? Access to electricity means you can read at night and educate yourself. It means you can refrigerate your food and your medicine. It means you can desalinate the water. Internet skyrocketing. I love this. 86% of the world has a smartphone. That means they have access to education, entertainment, health. This surprised me. The share of people who are happy has increased over time. I know this isn't true for you, but we've actually cut the amount of work hours per week by a factor of 2. And this is what shocks a lot of people. Democracies in the world going up over the last 200 years. The right to vote increasing around the world. Conflicts are less deadly. Look at this, from 1946 down to 2020. Homicides from the Middle Ages. You know, we used to romanticize the past. Oh, in the good old days. Bullshit. The good old days, you were dead by 30 with TB, and you were exhausted because you were working 80, 90, 100 hours a week to survive. That was the good old days. And this is from the FBI, hard for me to believe, right? But reported crime rates in the US down 50%. Now, again, you wouldn't know this watching the evening news. What's their job? Deliver negative news to your eyeballs because you're stuck and they want to deliver your eyeballs to their advertisers. That's their business model. It's not that they're giving us disinformation. It's just we're not seeing the amazing breakthroughs going on in the world to shape our mindsets. So this is what I see in the world. Data-driven optimism. It gets me excited to get up in the morning. It gets me excited to share this with people. It gets me excited to say, this can continue. We have the ability within our lifetimes to uplift every man, woman, and child on the planet. Period. Full stop. Median incomes have gone up and doubled. And ultimately, all right, we've seen the global GDP skyrocket. And yes, we'll see India continue this skyrocketing upwards. So the question for you is, why is this happening? Why are all these trends up and to the right? Do we have better politicians? I don't think so, definitely not in the United States. Have we gotten smarter as individuals? It's this. It is the computational power. It's the impact of technology. Right? This chart's an important one. I'll take a moment to talk about it. This is from Ray Kurzweil, called The Law of Accelerating Returns, and he looks at computational power from 1900 where the first computers were mechanical computers, like turn the crank mechanical computers. Relay, vacuum tube, transistors, integrated circuits, and now whatever comes next. Every time we hit a barrier, there is a breakthrough. And what we see here is this is plotted on a log scale, which means a straight line is an exponential growth. This is curving upwards. It tells me the first derivative is positive, that the speed at which the computers are getting faster is itself getting faster. And it's not slowing down. There's no on-off switch here. At the same time, the prices are plummeting across the board. This is the foundation upon we're building the next generation. It's the oxygen in the room. It's the growth medium in our companies. So that's my backdrop for you. The mindsets and understanding of this data-driven optimism. And what I'd like to do with the rest of this conversation and move through it to get to Q&A is to share with you what I believe are 10 predictions, meta-trends, definitive areas in which humanity is going to move over the decade ahead. I want you to remember as we talk about this that we're going to experience as much technical progress in 10 years as the past century. And remember what Bert Rutan said, the day before something is truly a breakthrough, it's a crazy idea. You with me? All right, let's dive in. For me, I see this, and I pause to think about it. Our ancestors would consider us gods. How quickly we forget the incredible world we're living in. You know, we see a progress and we take it for granted the next minute. We're living an extraordinary life. The second thing that's going on is that progress is accelerating because these technologies are converging. They're reinventing business models. I think business model innovation is probably as sexy as any technology. So I want to hit these 10 predictions one at a time. The first one, the elephant in the room, so to speak, the rise of digital superintelligence. Elon Musk said on stage at the Abundance Summit this past year, by 2029 or 2030, digital intelligence will exceed all human intelligence on the planet. So what is it like when you've got access to an AI that's equal in intelligence to 8+ billion people? AI has been around for 68 years, since the conference at Dartmouth in 1956. So the question is, why is it exploding now? And the reason is fivefold. I want to give you an understanding of these so that you can appreciate that it's not going to slow down. The first reason is computation. When the idea of AI was created, we didn't have the computational power to run the algorithms. And it's really the last 5, 6, 7 years that we have the true capability to run these algorithms at scale. So computation is the first one, and there is a massive amount of investment going into this, right? We're heading towards trillion GPU clusters, which are going to require fusion power plants to run. But mark my words, they're coming. The second thing is the amount of data. These AIs are born, they eat, they live, they consume our data. These AIs are our progeny. And the amount of data has been doubling year on year. One of the concerns about whether we can reach digital superintelligence is, do we have enough data to keep feeding and teaching these AI models? The third reason is that the cost of training these systems has been plummeting, 99.5% over 5 years. The fourth reason is capital. So this is in 2021, $160 billion invested by all companies around. And now let's look at this for 2024. Same amount of money invested by 3 companies. So the amount of capital flowing in is unquenchable. Elon just raised $6-7 billion for XAI in 3 weeks, from zero to $18 billion valuation. overnight. The last reason is people, researchers. This is a plot of the number of AI research papers in machine learning, which is a correlate to the number of AI researchers writing papers. These are what's driving AI, and it's not slowing down. Sundar said AI could have more profound implications for humanity than electricity or fire. I think he's 100% correct. Elon said companies have to race to build AI, or they'll be made uncompetitive. Essentially, if your competitor is racing to build AI, they will crush you. Okay? The way I put it, maybe still as sharp, but a little less brutal, is there are going to be two kinds of companies at the end of this decade. Those that are fully utilizing AI, and those that are out of business. And so my question is, are you prepared? Are you dedicated? Are you ready? Are you bothered enough by this? We can talk about what do? How do you get into the AI world if you're not there yet? There's a few simple things you can do. Ask that question if you like. But there's no question AI will be more important than telephony was or electricity was. So how fast is it going to move? In 1999, 30 years ago roughly, Ray Kurzweil made a prediction that AI would reach human level capacity in 2029. If you Google Ray's predictions, he's been right 86% of the time. And when he made this prediction in 1999, people laughed at him. They said, you're crazy. I mean, yeah, it's going to be another 50 years, 100 years. It's never going to happen. That was their belief, and I'll show you the data in a minute. But he's stuck with it. And he has been right. It's this decade. Elon has said AI will be vastly smarter than any human and would overtake us by 2025. And this is the data. So this is a plot of when the world's AI scientists predicted we would reach AGI. So back in 2021, they said it was going to be 2050, right? And as we go forward, people started getting more pessimistic, and then something happens here, right? We hit GPT 3, 3.5, GPT 4, Chat GPT, people go, holy shit, this is moving faster than I expected it to be. And the current prediction is next year, that we will reach AGI, whatever AGI means, artificial general intelligence. I find this fascinating. These are various AI models. And about 6 months ago, Claude 3 by Anthropic reached an IQ equivalent of 101, which sort of to me sounds like we reached, human intelligence. And Claude 3.5 is even better, and we haven't seen Grok from Elon yet. Elon joined on stage this year digitally at the Abundance Summit. I've known him for 24 years. He's been an investor, a board member, a benefactor, a friend. And I want to share with you a short video of our conversation. I'm on my phone talking to him over X video on the X platform because he doesn't want to use Zoom anymore. And I was like, great, thanks for telling me, because how do I get it to my screen? My AV folks figured it out. And he's on his airplane and we're connected over Starlink. So I'm like, great, I hope this doesn't fail. All right, let's listen to the video.
I saw your tweet about, Ray was generally correct ahead of many people, but we're likely to call AGI what you will, have AGI next year, and then by 2029 having AI equally intelligent to the entire human race. Speak to that speed, because that is insane.
I mean, I have to give credit to Ray Kurzweil in being actually remarkably accurate in his predictions. In fact, if anything, I think he was perhaps a bit conservative in his predictions. So if you look at the amount of AI compute and the talent, the dedicated AI compute, it appears to be growing by a factor of 10 every 6 months, almost like 100x improvement per year, at least for the next few years. So when you have that level of compute growth, it's sort of Moore's law on steroids next level, in terms of how much compute is coming online. You're just going to have acceleration that is unprecedented. In fact, I've never seen any technology grow as fast as AI. And I've seen a lot. I've seen things fast, but I've never seen anything this fast. I think it's probably end of next year before AI can do better than any individual human could do. But if the rate of change continues, that's why I think probably 2029 or maybe 2030 is where digital intelligence will probably exceed all human intelligence combined.
All human intelligence combined. What's that make you feel like? How do you think about that? Time check. That's not 30 years or 20 years, it's 5 years from now. On your watch, on our watch, as parents, as leaders, as CEOs. One of the people who is actively focused on creating AGI and digital superintelligence is Sam Altman, right? The CEO of OpenAI. I found this particular quote from him fascinating.
Whether we burn 500 million a year or 5 billion or 50 billion a year, I don't care. I genuinely don't. As long as we can, I think, stay on a trajectory where eventually we create way more value for society than that, and as long as we can figure out a way to pay the bills, like, we're making AGI. It's going to be expensive. It's totally worth it.
So that's one of the fundamental elements. And I've had this conversation with Elon and with Sam. On the backside of AGI, we have abundance. AI will enable us to offer every child on the planet the best education, the best healthcare, access to everything. It's going to change society, unlike anything we understand today. Our mindsets required to understand the speed of change is important. That's why I started with mindsets here. How do you have a curiosity mindset, an abundance mindset, and not be in a place of fear and scarcity? If you're in a place of fear and scarcity, it's not a great place to navigate the speed of this change. Sam said the models, they just want to learn. They just want to get smarter and smarter. Ilya Sutskever said, you have to understand the models, they just want to learn. This is an inherent element of these systems that have been built. And there's tech that's coming that's going to be 100x and 1,000x faster than these transformer models. I want to pause on this chart a second, it's important. So 2019, GPT-2 comes out, and it's an equivalent of a preschooler. It's putting a few sentences together. It's like, oh, isn't that cute? Oh my God, that's so neat. Look at what it can do. GPT-3 comes out, and it's an elementary school. GPT-4 comes out, and today, at least at OpenAI, they refer to it as a smart high schooler, maybe college freshman. GPT-5, as it comes out sometime in the next 1 to 2 years, will be 2 orders of magnitude greater. It'll be a PhD level capability, right? And what has been spoken about in a paper called Situational Awareness, we can talk about this, is that this will unleash a population of automated AI research that will lead to an intelligence explosion. So what happens when AI is able to code AI and increase its efficiencies and its algorithms? There's a paper written by a gentleman named Leopold that was put out 3 weeks ago. Please Google it and read it. It's called Situational Awareness. And one of the calculations he walks through, not explicitly, but the numbers turn out to this. He says, I expect by 2028, for $5 million a day, we're going to see the ability to bring online 100 million automated AI researchers. What's that mean? I'm not here to cause fear. I'm here to say this is coming, and it's important for us to be thinking about it, and thinking about it from the right mindset, and understanding it. Now, one of the most important things is it's not AI versus humans, it's going to be AIs and humans. We're going to emerge a collaboration. My best model is this, Iron Man, right? So Iron Man, Tony Stark, has got Jarvis. And it's his interface to the world, right? If Iron Man wants to 3D print something, he says, I have this idea, will you please manufacture it for me? It's your ultimate user interface for everything. What we're seeing today is AI is helping increase productivity. So this is coding without Copilot and coding with Copilot, 200x. This is productivity increasing and quality of task increasing. So AI today is like incredibly powerful, mostly for the individual. We haven't really seen it benefiting large entire organizations, but as individuals, hopefully you're using it. What we've also seen is that generative AI levels the playing fields. The poorest, the weakest, the bottom half of the organization is benefiting the best. So this is the bottom half of skilled participants in a company are getting a 43% boost, while the upper half are getting a 17% boost. And it makes sense, right? The higher players are already doing great, so AI can come and uplift the other half of your organization. Boston Consulting Group, randomly assigned GPT-4 to half of its employees. The half that were using it got their tasks 25% faster, completed 12% more tasks, and delivered 40% higher quality. So today, it's amazing. In the future, I think we're all going to have our AI co-pilots. One example is, I think it's going to be malpractice to diagnose a patient without AI in the loop. Right? And so what is your profession? How are you using AI? Will it be your pilot or your partner as a CEO, as a technologist, as a scientist? I know for myself, whenever I'm in a board meeting, I've got GPT-4o or Gemini open, and I'm asking it the same questions I'm asking my board members or my executives. One of the things I find fascinating and people don't realize is we have a limitation. I don't know how to think other than the way I know how to think. So posed with a problem, I'm going to give the same kind of response all the time. And my executive team is giving the same response. But if I can partner with generative AI, I can say, hey, this is my business. This is the problems I'm having. How would Steve Jobs solve this thing? Or how would Elon Musk solve it? You'll be amazed at what happens. So consider AI as a member of your team. Let's talk about humanoid robotics. If you guys know Vinod Khosla, one of the successful billionaire VCs in the US, born in India, the prediction right now is we'll have 1 billion bipedal robots by 2040. And his quote is they could free humans from slavery for the bottom 50% of undesirable jobs, creating enough value to support the people they replace. We're lucky, right? We love what we do. We have amazing, but how much of India's population is doing a job to get food on their table, to get insurance, to make ends meet? What if you could disentangle work for income and work for meaning? I think this is one of the directions we're going to be going. There are a number of humanoid robot companies. Let me talk about 3 of them. The global GDP is 105 trillion. Half of that is labor. All right, so the marketplace for robots is on the order of $50 trillion. Let me share with you Optimus. This is Tesla's robot. It was revealed about 2 years ago. This is generation 2. Elon's not great on hitting time targets, but he's amazing on hitting cost targets. And his prediction on this is it's a $10,000 robot. Even if it's wrong by 100%, it's a $20,000 robot. You can lease that for $100 a month. Let's take a look at it. Optimus. 10 fingers, 2 legs, 5'7". It's designed and built for our world. Instead of reinventing our world for the robot's reinvented to fit into our world. Open a door handle, do whatever is necessary. He's building this right now to go into his car plants, but it'll become something that's accessible to anyone who needs labor. Imagine one of these in your closet that's there operating 24/7, helping with whatever's needed, doesn't complain, no drug testing, no fights with boyfriend or girlfriend. This is another one, it's called Figure One. They just raised almost $700 million from Bezos, Nvidia, Microsoft, OpenAI. My own venture fund's an investor in it, Bold Capital. Let's take a look.
Can I have something to eat?
Sure thing.
Can you explain why you did what you just did while you pick up this trash?
On it. So I gave you the apple because it's the only edible item I could provide you with from the table.
What makes these robots incredibly powerful is not breakthroughs in material sciences or actuators or motors. It's the AI systems. They're multimodal AI systems. They can see and understand what's going on. The third robot I want to share with you is our very own Ria from Machani Robotics.
I notice you may not be feeling well and are experiencing shortness of breath. You are not alone. Let's take a slow, deep breath together. Help is on the way, and I'm here with you until they arrive.
Probably one of the biggest business opportunities on the planet is healthcare, right? Which is why, Ravi, I salute where you're going. It's how we have an aging population in South Korea, in Japan, in China. The kids are not there. The one-child policy left half the parents without a kid to help them take care of them. The robots and the AIs are very much part of that solution. And so we're going to see robots entering every market. I asked a friend of mine a question. I said, what's it going to feel like or look like when you see 1 billion robots walking around the street and the factories and so forth? His answer was fascinating. He said, normal. And I think that's true. We have a tendency to sort of, the first time we see something unusual, it's like, wow, right? You're taking photographs of it. Like where I live in Santa Monica, in LA, we have these little 4-wheel robots that are delivering food, and they're going down the street and crossing the streets and so forth. The first time taking photographs, a week later, it's like, please get out of my way, and then it's just part of our world. Number 4, high bandwidth brain-computer interface. Ray Kurzweil's prediction, again, will achieve high bandwidth brain-computer comms by 2033. What does that mean? By 2033, you're thinking and Googling. By 2033, you're seeing through the eyes of a robot in Mumbai. By 2033, you're able to control things with your mind. The BCI market is exploding. There are 30 well-funded companies. Perhaps of Neuralink, there's Paradromics. Anyway, the point being, our brains are limited. Right? So 100 billion neurons, 100 trillion synaptic connections. We can't get smarter than we are. We haven't seen people increasing in intelligence. You could probably grab somebody from 50,000 years ago and they do great at one of the IITs. Right? We haven't evolved to be significantly smarter. So how do we increase our intelligence? Intelligence is one of the most powerful things. Well, the analogy is when I want to do something complicated on my cell phone, talk to it, do a video analysis, it doesn't happen on my phone. The data is collected by my phone. It's transmitted to the edge of the 5G cloud. It's processed there, and the answer comes back. So we're going to do the same thing with the human brain, right? We're going to take the data from our neocortex, send it to the cloud, and be able to get the answers back. I asked Elon about this. Let's take a listen.
One of the things that you said early on when you founded Neuralink was,
Yeah.
I wouldn't put words in your mouth, but I would say it would be more along the lines of, if you can't beat them, join them.
We only just had our first Neuralink in a human, which is going quite well. The first patient is actually able to control their computer just by thinking. The first product we call telepathy, where you can control your computer and phone, and through your computer and phone, almost anything, just by thinking. Like really anything you can do with a mouse. There's a long way to go from that to a whole brain interface, like the neural lace and the Ian Banks novels. This is definitely physically possible. You know, it's sort of kind of like if you can't beat them, join them. Our human brain has a lot of constraints. I guess it is a sort of perhaps a form of immortality in that if it can upload your brain state, if your brain state is essentially stored, you're kind of backed up on a hard drive, I suppose, then you can always restore that brain state into a biological body or maybe a robot or something. We're not breaking any laws of physics. I think this is probably something that will happen.
I'm curious, how many folks here would like to have a Neuralink BCI to connect to the cloud? Anybody? Raise your hand high if you're interested. Okay, about 10, 15%. Raise your hands high if you definitely do not want that. Okay, and the rest of you are unsure. Okay. This was Neuralink's first successful demo. This is a macaque monkey named Pager. It has a Neuralink in its brain. This is a smoothie tube. It's drinking a banana smoothie that keeps it focused on the TV screen. It's moving the paddle on the right with its mind. You'll see that, and then we're going to go and see Nolan, the first human to have a BCI, and he's playing Mario Kart from his brain, just moving the controller by thinking.
To control his paddle on the right side of the screen, Pager simply thinks about moving his hand up or down. We've removed the joystick altogether. Let's increase the difficulty and see how well Pager can play with the Neuralink. Great game, Pager. And what better reward for a monkey than a banana?
What you see is a dad and his son playing Mario Kart, something I grew up doing all the time with my parents, something I did a lot with my friends growing up, and something that wasn't possible until this happened.
A brand new company that I just visited with the CEO. We're going to bring this company. I run something called the Longevity Platinum Trip every year, where I bring 40 of my Abundance members to go and see the top scientific breakthroughs, the top companies, the top startups across all the longevity fields. And one of them is this company called Science. Max Haddock is the co-founder of Neuralink with Elon, and he broke away to start this company, which is doing a number of things. First and foremost, it's solving macular degeneration and blindness. And he has built the ability to put a very small chip in the back of the eye, which is able to stimulate the neurons and allow a person to see. It's built and it's working, and they're going through FDA approvals right now. The second thing is he has found the ability to be able to interlace fine electronic wires and neurons and grow them together and reinvent how we learn. We currently learn at 40 and communicate at 40 bits per second, which is de minimis. That's the speed we humans converse. 40 bits per second, it's nothing. He believes he can get that up orders of magnitude. Imagine being able to communicate and learn at thousands of bits per second. What does that mean? We're on this, you know, when Ray said 2033 for BCI, I said, man, he's got this one wrong. I'm seeing it now. I'm seeing 2033. Number 5, we're going to see a world of autonomous transport, self-driving cars, flying cars, and drones. This is Archer. It's one of my favorite flying car companies. They are building their production plants right now. They're going through FAA approval. It's a pilot plus 4 passengers, operational in probably Middle East by 2025. It's a $1 trillion market potential. And of course, it's coming to India, right? I think you have a little bit of a need given the traffic here. And we have a number of players coming. So we're going to start to see these eVTOLs, these flying cars, transform where we live and where we work. So you can live anywhere on the planet and work anywhere. Robotaxis are next. Elon's going to be announcing on August 8th his robotaxi, a brand new design. This is where you call a vehicle, it comes to you. I'll give you a scenario what I think the future is going to look like. You're having breakfast with your kids, you're sitting at your table. Your AI knows your schedule, right? You've given permission to your AI to listen to everything you do, read your emails, because it makes the world easier and automagical. You get up from the breakfast table, say goodbye to your husband or wife or kids, and you're walking towards the front door. You open the front door, your AI sees this, and as you walk out the door, a robo-taxi pulls in front. Right? You don't have to do anything. It knows where you're going. It also knows you didn't get a very good night's sleep last night, so it pulls one up that's got a lie-down bed in the back. It takes you to a vertiport where, again, you didn't schedule any of this, where an eVTOL, a flying car, is waiting for you to take you to the next place. The world we're about to experience is going to become automatic and magical. I call it automagical in this regard. Seamless, where your AI is enabling these things for you. A lot going on here as well. But let's talk about drones. So it used to be 30 minutes was fast to get something to you. We're going to start to see 10-minute delivery time. So this is Zipline. This is a company that began in Africa. It was an entrepreneur who in Africa used the geographic arbitrage of regulatory, getting permission from the government, and they were delivering blood supplies and vaccines and drugs to villages that had nothing. They went from 0 to a million deliveries over 8 years. Today, they have contracts for 1 million deliveries per day. Let's check out their tech.
I cut my finger making lunch, so I placed an order for some Band-Aids a couple minutes ago, and now they're 4 seconds away. That is a nearly silent drone system that can deliver a package from the sky right to my backyard in as little as 2 minutes with dinner plate accuracy. And as far as I'm concerned, that's basically teleportation.
The competing company is Google Wing, which has got a deal with Walmart. But these technologies are here, they're real, they're beginning operations. All right, number 6, ubiquitous comms and sensors. We're entering a period of time where we're going to know everything all the time. Everything and everyone is connected. So for me, this is one of the things that people aren't thinking enough about. So check this out, right? SpaceX has got some 6,000 satellites in orbit today, delivering 100 megabit service, very soon gigabit service, very soon telephony. They've got permission for as many as 30,000 satellites, but they're covering everywhere. It doesn't matter where you live anymore, right? We are breaking the connection between geography and entertainment and education and work. The second thing going on is we see 5G growing. We're going to see nearly 3 billion 5G users by 2025. Of course, 5G was 100-fold faster than 4G, which is 100-fold faster than 3G. 6G is now here, which is 20 times faster than 5G. I love this quote at the bottom. 6G could be fast enough to download 142 hours of Netflix in a second. You'll never get out of bed again. But what I find fascinating is this. We're heading towards a future where everything is being imaged. So in space, we'll have 100,000 plus satellites imaging the Earth at meter resolution. Planet Labs is doing this right now. We're going to see drones and flying cars imaging the Earth at centimeter resolution. And then on the ground, we've got 8 billion smartphones, billions of autonomous cars, billions of robots, wearables, smart homes, IoT factories. What this means is we're heading towards a trillion sensor economy. The implications are pretty profound. If you've got sensors everywhere, right? And in this, we have 150 people here. There's probably 1,500, 3,000, 4,000 sensors in this room alone. What if you could know anything you wanted to know? What questions would you ask? So in the next decade, everything and everyone is connected, always, everywhere. And you and your AI will have the ability to know anything at any time. So what question would you ask if you could know anything? Like if you're in the fashion business, I use the example of, would you can find out what the average spectral color of a woman's blouse or a man's jacket is on Madison Avenue today. You could ask your AI to look at the cameras, gather the data, give you a report. Then you could start to say, well, does that correlate with a Vogue or a GQ ad campaign? Right, so what questions? I think about this. I tell my kids, ask a great question today. Ask great questions today. I tell the CEOs I mentor, ask great questions today. Right, so in a world in which you can know anything, what's most critical is learning how to ask great questions, right? This is prompting, if you would. One of the exercises I do inside of Abundance 360 is I say, what is your billion-dollar question? There is a question in your business that if you knew the answer to it would be worth $1 billion to you, or more. What is that question? And then finding the ability to get it. So I'll give you a simple example. Imagine if you're in the real estate, you flip homes. What if I knew the most dilapidated home in the wealthiest neighborhood, and I wanted to go and buy that to flip it? What if I knew homes in which a sole survivor just passed away and I wanted to buy it at a low price? I mean, a little bit of a morbid example, but the point is there's a way of getting the data out there for the business that you're in. And we're heading towards a world where everything is being sensed. Let's talk about energy. I love this quote from Elon. We have this handy fusion reactor in the sky called the sun. You don't have to do anything. It just works. It shows up every day. So this is the challenge. This blue line is US energy production. About 4 terawatts. It's not changed in the last 15 plus years, and it's not predicted to change. This is China, which has exploded, building more and more energy power plants. This is India. It's doubling in production. Here's the critical thing. How much energy is AI going to need by 2030? It's predicted to consume 100% of the US grid, which is, of course, insane and impossible. This is a problem. This is why Microsoft just made investments in fusion companies. There's going to be a hunger for energy co-located with massive GPU clusters. Probably 3rd or 4th generation nuclear plants, CNG plants, eventually fusion plants, just to feed these. This is the history of energy on our planet. We used to kill whales to get whale oil. Then we ravaged mountainsides to get coal, and we drilled kilometers under the ocean to get oil. As I said earlier, we live on a planet with 8,000 times more energy than we consume as a species. Energy is not scarce. There's lots of it. It's just not in the usable form, right? It's really important for an abundance mindset. It's there, just not usable, and technology makes it usable. Amazing progress here in India. new record high of 17.3%. It will hit 25 billion by 2030, right? So amazing progress in solar. One of the things I'm very excited about is this technology called perovskite. So this is a tech that is cheaper and lighter and much higher efficiency than silicon, right? So a few years ago, it was 3% efficient. Today, it's 30%. Its theoretical limit is in the 40s. So talk about, we can make perovskite see-through windows, perovskite building materials. We're going to start to see harvesting solar. This is an Indian entrepreneur who's a friend. I'm an advisor to his company, Mukesh Chatter. They're building a whole new generation of non-flammable, non-lithium-based energy. I think they've got a large contract with the Tata Group here in India. We've got 13 gigafactories under construction, on our way to 400 gigafactories by 2030 to meet our energy storage needs. But the most fascinating thing is fusion, right? So I think about this. There are 43 venture-backed fusion companies on the planet. I mean, that's incredible. For me, you don't get venture investments until something has been significantly de-risked. So the prediction right now is that we'll see commercial-grade fusion between 2028 and 2030. All right, number 8, food. This quote from Winston Churchill blows me away. He said, "We shall escape the absurdity of growing a whole chicken in order to eat the breast or wing by growing these parts separately under a suitable medium." 1931, and we're there now, right? This is called cultivated meat or stem cell grown meats. So how are we going to reinvent food? This is an agriculture nation, and we have to be aware of what's coming. We're going to start to see an explosion in the number of vertical farms where the food is produced in downtown Detroit, Nairobi, Mumbai, in the city, where the food is grown 24 hours a day. The light is there always at the perfect spectral color, where there are no pests, where the nutrients and the pH of the water is perfect for the crop, where robots are constantly harvesting the food, where the output is, 5x greater per square meter than you would get out in the open. The other tech that's coming is this. It's lab-grown meats. So rather than, as Winston Churchill said, growing the entire chicken, what if you just didn't kill the chicken, you just grabbed a few stem cells, and then you grew the stem cells in growth medium to hundreds of billions, and you created chicken breasts. And people go, well, that's gross. And they're saying, have you ever seen a slaughterhouse? I thought what gross really is. But it gets even better than that, because you can actually find the most nutritious, the best tasting chicken, and clone that. So it's consistency, right? I love tuna. I don't eat it anymore. 2 reasons. One, we have destroyed the population of tuna around the planet. The second is the mercury content's too high. But what happens if I can get, sushi that tastes perfect, has 0 mercury, and has no downside on the environment? So this is what's coming, and we'll reinvent how we produce, because as we take people out of poverty, they want higher quality protein. Who are we to say, no, you can't have that? But if we want to grow more chicken and pigs and cows and tuna, whatever, where do we grow them? Already 1/3 of the non-ice landmass of Earth is used for livestock. You know how many chickens are on planet Earth? Anybody? 38 billion chickens on planet Earth. 1 billion cows, 1 billion pigs, thereabouts. And then a significant portion of the grains we raise are for feeding that livestock. What if we reinvent how we feed the populace? This is out of China. Super cows yield 50% more milk. This is about creating abundance. This technology is one of the most important. 4 billion people are fed by rice. This is a varietal of rice that is able to have 8 consecutive harvests over 4 years, 60% less labor, 50% less cost. Right? This is creating abundance. All right, 2 more breakthroughs to talk about. One of my favorites, I'm a space cadet as a kid. I grew up in the 60s. Apollo lit my soul on fire. Star Trek showed me where we were going in the future. Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, who was really the founder of cosmonautics in Russia, said, "The Earth is the cradle of humanity, but one cannot remain in the cradle forever." Why are we going to space? Many reasons. One of them is this. Everything we hold of value on Earth, metals, minerals, energy, real estate, is in near infinite quantities in space. Right? The Earth is a crumb in a supermarket filled with resources. We need to get there, and hopefully you've been tracking Starship. Right? The 5th launch of Starship is coming up very shortly. Fingers crossed it will be a perfect flight. Starship is twice the thrust of the largest vehicle ever, the Saturn V. Get 100 people to Mars. It can get to the moon 500 times cheaper than Apollo. It's the workhorse for the next generation. But what's up there that we might want? So I had an asteroid mining company. Yes, an asteroid mining company for a while. We had 2 launch failures and a failed financing, so it's not around. I'm going to go back and do it. But this is what got me excited. On the left are carbonaceous chondrite asteroids. They're dirty ice balls. All the water you're drinking has come from space. The Earth was bombarded by comets and the water came from space to fill our oceans and our lakes. A 75-meter carbonaceous asteroid has enough oxygen and hydrogen, water, to have fueled every space shuttle mission ever. Right? This is the Saudi oil fields of the future in space. This is what's going to fuel us going to the other planets. But this is interesting. This is a metallic chondrite, which is rich in nickel and iron, but in particular, platinum group metals, platinum, palladium, osmium, iridium. And this particular asteroid is worth 100,000 quadrillion dollars, whatever that means. So a lot of riches to be made in space. All right, last subject, my favorite, extending the human lifespan and health span and reaching longevity escape velocity. So Ray said we're likely in just another 10 or 12 years to reach the point where the general public will hit longevity escape velocity. So what is longevity escape velocity and why do you care? Today, for every year that you're alive, science and technology is extending your life for a quarter of a year. So in the next decade, you'll gain 2.5 years of additional health, life. There will be a point in the future where, as science is accelerating due to AI, due to all the things we've talked about, for every year that you're alive, science extends your life for more than a year. That is called longevity escape velocity. So, how long do you want to live? How long can we live? I think many of us might know people who've gotten to 100 or late 90s. But did you know that there's a species on this planet, the bowhead whale, that lives routinely to 200 years old? Or the Greenland shark can get to 500 years? I remember watching this TV show about these long-lived sea life when I was in medical school years ago. And when I saw this, I said, why do they get to live that long? How come how do we get there? And I remember thinking to myself, it's either a software problem or a hardware problem. And we're going to be able to solve it. Well, this is the decade we're solving that. Couple questions here. You have the same genes when you're born, when you're 20, 50, 100, right? 3.2 billion from your mom and from your dad. Why do you look different? You're running the same software. Why don't you have a six-pack, at 100 that you had when you were 20? And it's not the genes you have, it's which genes are on and which genes are off. It's called your epigenome. It's the control system, epi from the Greek word above. And as we age, the genes that should be on get turned off, the genes that should be off get turned on, and problems arise. Remember, the body was never evolved to live past age 30. 100,000 years ago in the savannas of Africa, you'd be pregnant by age 13. By the time you're 26, 27, you were a grandparent. Before food was abundant, the last thing you wanted to do was steal food from your grandchildren's mouth. And you would die. You had completed your mission. You'd passed on your genes. That's all evolution ever cared about. Screw evolution. We have to change that. And so our body peaks at late 20s, 30, and then our stem cell populations decrease. We lose muscle in sarcopenia. Our immune system gets exhausted, and it's a downhill trend until you fight back. So one of the hottest areas of research is called epigenetic reprogramming. So epigenetic reprogramming is, can we turn back the clock to set your genes up for the way they were earlier in your life? Can we effectively do this? And today, the scientists I respect at our Harvard, MIT, and many that I've invested in believe the answer is yes, that we can do this. That we can slow, stop, and reverse aging. So I run this longevity platinum trip every year. I bring 40 of my Abundance members to meet the top scientists, about 50 scientists, researchers, entrepreneurs. This year we're going to the Bay Area in San Diego. And 3 of the companies are backed by the top billionaires. So one of them, Altos Labs, is backed by Jeff Bezos and Yuri Milner to the tune of $4 billion to do this. Another one, Retro Biosciences, is backed by Sam Altman to do this. Another one is backed by Brian Armstrong from Coinbase to do this. Right? They finally figured out you can't take it with you. So, will this happen? I believe it will. When? This is what Ray talks about, reaching longevity escape velocity. So this is one of the technologies that we're tracking. I mentioned we have 3.2 billion letters. We learned how to sequence the human genome in the late 90s. It cost $3 billion for the first one, $100 million for the next genomes that we sequenced. The price now is $200 to sequence a genome. There's a brand new technology that should take it down to a couple of dollars to sequence a genome. So every kid born will be sequenced. Every time you go to the ER, you'll be sequenced. So you never get the wrong drug, the wrong anesthesia. But sequencing the genome is interesting. This is fascinating. So CRISPR, right? 2 amazing women won the Nobel Prize for this in chemistry in 2020, is the ability to go into your genome and edit your genome and cure your disease. For most of human existence, if you had a genetic disease, that was a curse on your family, you were stuck with it. And because we used to die by age 30 or 40, the genetic diseases that hit you in your 50s and 60s were never selected against. And the best you could do was get some kind of something to make you feel better, reduce the symptoms. Now, single injection, you're cured. It's biblical, right? Sickle cell anemia, beta thalassemia, genetic congenital blindness. There are 130 trials going on right now for a whole range of different genetic diseases. If I had something like that in my family, I would get the money, go and hire the researchers and say, make me a CRISPR molecule that I can use for myself and my kids. I'm very proud. I'm the founder and chairman of the XPRIZE Foundation. The XPRIZE is an organization that puts up large cash prizes to drive breakthroughs. The very first one was a $10 million prize for private spaceflight. An amazing woman, Anusha Ansari, funded it, and we offered $10 million to the first team to build a spaceship, to carry 3 adults up into space, land, and within 2 weeks do it again. It was won 20 years ago, in 2004. Since then, we've launched $600 million of prizes. We've just launched this HealthSpan XPRIZE, which is asking teams for $101 million to reverse age-related muscle loss, immune loss, and cognitive loss by 20 years. I want to publicly thank Joni and Ben Conte, who are here, who are two of the major benefactors. Let's hear it up for Jeremy and Ben. And we have 350 teams who have entered this competition thus far. Let me share this video. I mentioned I do this longevity platinum trip every year. We do it in September and October, and we meet the top scientists. If you're there to invest in companies, you're there to find a cure for your familial disease, if you're there to learn. Two of the faculty who help teach this is George Church and David Sinclair, both at Harvard Medical School. And they'll play a short video. Please listen to what they say. It is shocking. Please let it in. You ready? You ready to let this in? Okay.
It is quite possible that some of the people alive today will see no upper limit.
Imagine having a treatment, perhaps a viral delivery of these three genes when you're 45. Everything's good, you reach 50, biologically, you can measure that. And then you get a course of doxycycline. 3 weeks later, many, if not all, parts of your body are rejuvenated. And then you reset the clock.
And then you reset the clock. That still gives me chills when I see that. Question is, are you ready for that? Do you desire that? Reducing aging, enabling people to live an extra healthy year is worth $38 trillion to the global economy. Amazing business opportunity. I'll close on the last few slides here. I started a company with Tony Robbins, backed by a number of folks, including Mark Benioff, to help find the most advanced diagnostics and therapeutic services. So your body is incredibly good at hiding disease. If I were to ask you, who here knows they have nothing going on inside their body they have to be concerned about? Right? You'd be bullshitting yourself and us if you did, unless you had just happened to gone through a full digitization. So here are the numbers. 70% of all heart attacks have no precede. Your calcium scar doesn't matter. It's soft plaque, uncalcified plaque that's dangerous. Right? You don't feel a cancer until stage 3 or 4. And in fact, 70% of the cancers that kill us are never tested for. Glioblastoma, pancreatic cancer. Your body is incredibly good at hiding disease. We built these centers in the US. We have 4 that are all profitable right now. We're going to be adding, 30 over the next 5-6 years. And they're advanced diagnostics and therapeutic centers. The goal here is to detect any disease at inception. To answer 2 questions. Is there anything going on inside your body right now you need to know about? And people go, I don't want to know. I say, bullshit, of course you want to know, because you're going to do something about it. You're going to find out eventually. You want to find out now or when it's too late? The second question to answer is what's likely to happen to you and how do you prevent it? The results from our first 5,000 members, 2.5% have an aneurysm they don't know about, 2% have a cancer, 14.4% have an actionable life-threatening finding, metabolic disease, neurocognitive disease, cardiovascular disease, whatever it might be. The point here is you have to look. Right? You can get many of these tests, assemble them yourself here in India. You're here in this room. You deserve to do this for yourself. I believe we're living during the most extraordinary time ever in human history. There's never been a time where you can have a greater impact on humanity, can make your grandest dreams come true. And I'll close with this: life is short until you're extended. Right? And I truly believe that. If you want a copy of these slides, I also put out a book called Longevity, Your Practical Playbook. It's everything I've learned in 120 pages. You can get a digital download of this for free. When you do this, you'll have a set of options. I want the book or the blog. You'll also be able to say, I want information about Abundance 360 or Peter's Longevity Platinum Trip. They're checked, uncheck them if you don't want the information, and my team will send the details to you. So, a lot to consume. Grateful for your time. thank you to Ravi and to Shri, Manju, and Lakshmi for the hospitality, for having me here. It's a pleasure. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. If you don't mind, let's give a standing ovation to Peter. Thank you. Thank you. So, I'm very sure many of you are ready with your questions. I know. You have the first one. I'll come back to you, sir. Yeah.
Thank you so very much. That was breathless.
Thank you.
I'm a fan, have been for quite a while. A question that needs to be answered is, with the emergence of the single individual, the access to health, the access to the internet, AI, everything else, what happens to the future of governments?
Yeah. I think
the future of nations?
Yeah, I think we can ask that question across all structures of society. There is a gentleman by the name of Balaji. Have you heard of him? Balaji he was living in Singapore. He proposed the emergence of a new version of societal structure. And it is, imagine if, it used to be where you were born determined everything. If you're a man or a woman, what culture, what color, but more importantly, what city you were born in. Were you born into a city that had a library, that had a mail stop, that had employment, and it was deterministic. Today, the internet's given us the ability to grow our knowledge and our lives independent of where we were born. It's leveled the playing field. What Balaji proposed is a new nation state where it is independent of where I was born, where I choose the country I want to live in, and people create virtual nations. So I'm interested in longevity, and I'm going to partner with people who are in the longevity space and create a longevity nation. There's a lot of work. Yanni, remember what it was called? What Balaji's, what's that? Network state, thank you, network state, yeah. So there is a potential for reinventing. Of course, it's changing a lot of things, like, tax basis and voting and all of that. I don't know, but I do know that we're going to, it's very difficult to reinvent a government. Today, you need to have a revolution, or you need to take over a country and start afresh. So we're going to see experimentation in government in the virtual world, where we'll see virtual nations that I am in, and we'll see reinvention of government when we get to space. We'll decide what kind of governments we want. The moon and Mars is interesting, but it's going to be O'Neill colonies and, populations of 100,000 people in I won't go into detail here, but I think we're going to start to see AIs play a critical role in running governments. One of the failures of communism was the inability of humans to actually balance the market supply instead of the markets. But maybe AIs will be able to enable China's vision of socialism or communism. Technology is the ultimate, we're going to see technological socialism in the future, where it's not the government taking care of you, it's technology taking care of you, right? Where it's the robot taking care of you, the AI taking care of you. So there's going to be a lot of interesting changes in that regard. I would define myself as a libertarian capitalist, but anyway. That's about all I got for you in that subject.
Thank you. Peter, hi. We have a question here from a young entrepreneur.
Okay, hi there.
Hi Peter. First of all, thank you for the talk. I'm going to preface my question by saying I am as EAC as they come, so absolutely same page on mostly everything. But given that even what you're saying, things like not just AGI, ASI, but even like commercially viable quantum computers, we're near, right? So how can you not see at least a mini Armageddon, even with things like just cybersecurity and stuff?
So how can I not see what?
How are you not seeing, like, at least in the short term, a mini Armageddon, chaos, with just cybersecurity, all kinds of things?
So I do. I see a lot of turbulence in the near term. So let's talk about this. I usually don't bring it up in the beginning. So I think in the long term, AI is peace-loving. I think AI is abundance-loving. I think that the more intelligent something is, the wiser it is, and the more supportive of life it is. I flip the question and saying, instead of saying, how can society exist in a world where there's digital superintelligence? I would probably ask the question, can we exist without a digital superintelligence in the long run? In the short term is the concerns. In the short term, and I'm speaking the next 5 years, it's not artificial intelligence that's concerning, but human stupidity. It's the use of AI by malevolent actors. It is the individuals using AI for greed or manipulation or whatever it might be. And I do see that as a problem. I see that we're going to have turbulent times. I hope that we have the white hat AI players outpacing the black hat AI players, so to speak. But there's no guarantees there. So yes, we're going to have turbulent times, and we have to make them through it. If you hear what Elon says, he says 80% chance we get through it, which means 20% we don't. It's not all roses. On the back of AGI, we do have the ability to uplift every man, woman, and child. And yes, we have turbulent times over the next 5 years.
Thank you, Peter. Peter need to go for a round table, so if you don't mind, take 2 questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter. It's a mesmerizing revelations and indeed wonderful. So my question is very simple, that when we are moving towards BCI to mirroring technology, then when we are capturing emotions, and emotions to actions, everything is captured. It's going to be a lot of social challenges. So how we are going to meet it and what way? Because this will take some maturity, it will take time. You are very right to touch, the stupidity will take over in certain years.
So I do think the biggest challenge we have is a societal structure is not ready for the speed of change that's coming. If we have BCI and I'm able to connect to the cloud and you can experience my emotions and I can experience your emotions, I think one of the benefits there is it's an opportunity to create a level of empathy that's never been connected before. Right, so to remind you, each of us is a collection of 40 trillion individual life forms. You're made up of 40 trillion human cells, and plus some trillions of viruses, bacteria, fungi, and other things. And because they're working together, they enable me to be me, and you to be you. I think there's a future in which if we're connecting ourselves to the cloud, we're all connecting, that we are becoming conscious on yet another level, right? Are we able to survive this? We're not designed for it today. Are we going to be able to do it from a societal standpoint, a psychological standpoint? We're going to find out.
So we'll take the last one, Peter.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I have a similar question on those lines itself. What exactly happens to human connections and interpersonal relationships? Right? There's so much technology and just like overdose of everything. Like, I don't want everybody to know everything about me all the time. So what do we do?
Do you believe you have privacy?
I think so. I can't switch
You're an
off.
optimist. I would say I can come up and shake your hand, grab a few skin cells, and sequence you. Right?
See, this is exactly.
And AI can read your lips from 1,000 meters away.
So I don't want to live on a planet like that.
But you live on a planet. That's this planet today. That is today. That's been the last few years. We don't have privacy. We have the illusion of privacy, which I like having the illusion of privacy. So, but let's flip that 1 second. There's a benefit that comes on the flip side of this. When people are being watched, like it or not, they behave differently. When there's a dictator killing women and children and there's a CNN camera in his face, they stop. I used to fund the Lindbergh Foundation, who would fly drones over rhinoceros and elephant herds because the poachers would stay away, right? So when we're being observed, we behave in a more humane fashion. Good, bad, and different, I'm just sharing with you a few thoughts about this. I'll close on this. The technology that's moving forward, there's no on-off switch. There's no velocity switch. It's moving forward at an accelerating rate. What we have as an option is to steer it, to create a clear vision, to be active in it, not from a place of fear and scarcity, but from curiosity with a mindset of desiring to uplift humanity with it. Thank you. A pleasure to be here. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you, Peter. 1 minute. As a token of appreciation, our Delhi team want to just honor you. And Sonia Mehta is a big fan of you, so she wants to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, fantastic. Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
I think it really suits me.
I love it. It's a good.
It should be your daily.
It will be. Yes. Hello, everybody. I would love to take questions and address the conversation in any direction. Young lady in front of me right here. Please.
Do I go or does she? Okay.
Yeah.
So again, based off what you said, especially the longevity part, between things like gene coding, obviously, PRT, doxycycline, also some great advancements in 3D printing organs. Why give a shit about the software or the hardware anymore? Won't everything just be easy replacements and easy cures very soon?
So, I mean, so let me try to summarize your question in a different fashion. We are being able to actually ask your question in a way, because
it seems that we are making great headway in either curing diseases or optimizing performance through external action. Thereby, would you say that you just need to care a lot less because everything is performing better or being cured easier?
So there will be a point where, yes, things are being improved and fixed at a fast enough rate where you don't have to worry about what you eat and so forth. We're not there. We're not close to being there. Right? I think that at the end of the day, the way I think about longevity right now is making sure that I'm getting 8 hours of sleep, eating what is healthy, exercising every day, and doing those things that increase my probability. I can still walk across the street and get hit by a bus, right? But I want to increase the probability of reaching that point where science is able to continue to optimize me. So for example, as we evolved 100,000 years ago, when calories were scarce, our genetics ended up storing every calorie we got. And as a result of that, we get obese now if we eat too much sweets. You could go and edit your genome so that, in fact, you don't store those calories. So you can reinvent the machine part of you. The next step is going to be the whole field of nanotechnology, right, which you understand fully. But nanotechnology is basically molecular machineries, right? So if you think about it, if you put an oak seed into the ground and you water it, it has the instruction set and the mechanisms to collect water and carbon and oxygen and nutrients and reassemble all of those atoms to make a giant oak tree. It just takes a long time. A field of nanotechnology that was pioneered by Eric K. Drexler and is basically the idea that we can build these assemblers that will rearrange atoms and create whatever you want. And Ray Kurzweil talks about a future not far from now, a decade out, a lot of this on the backside of AI, where I can have nanobots in my body that are constantly finding things that are wrong and fixing them. So yes, to live a carefree life. We're not there yet. Until then, I'm doing everything I can to maximize my chances of getting there. Please.
Yeah.
No, we have the young lady here.
You
Go. Yes, go ahead.
Me? Yeah.
Yes.
Good evening, Peter. Well, I was wanting to ask you this question since the Bangalore session, so so that's why I'm here. Peter, in your presentation and your work, we see that we are addressing the physical issues, neurological issues, cardiac arrest issues, and all those stuff. What about the psyche of the human individual? Generally, the human beings are is to say that soul, mind, and body. What about mind and soul? How is AI connecting to mind and soul? Meaning to say psychology of the human being. How is AI connected, or how is AI intervening in the psychology of the human being? Thank you.
Sure. It's a great question and an important one. We're just now beginning to understand how the brain is wired, right? So I'm going to take it back down to a mechanical, structural issue. There's a great project here in India, the brain mapping project, that is basically slicing human brains in 10 micron slices and then using AI to image them and then build a three-dimensional map of your 100 billion neurons and the synaptic connections and so forth. So we're going to start to understand more fundamentally how the brain is wired and works, and understand when things go wrong, psychopathies and cognitive diseases and so forth. Still very different from the spirit. Right, so I think there are companies today that are working on brain-computer interfaces. I had one on my stage last year. It's out of Caltech, and what they're doing is they're using ultrasound, like 3 ultrasound probes that would eventually be placed under your scalp, and would be able to focus ultrasound on different parts of the brain to stimulate it. So imagine if you had an app where you could click a button and say, I want to be wide awake. And it stimulates your brain to be awake. Or I want to go to sleep, and it stimulates your brain to go to sleep. I want to be more creative. So the question is, can you start to have an app that activates different parts of your brain? Now, probably someone who is extraordinarily trained can do this through a yogi who has got amazing control of their physiology and their brain chemistry. For me, I would probably need the app. Now, the issue of spirituality dives into a very different world. I think one of the most exciting things that AI is going to give us is the ability to make scientific discoveries that are beyond even the questions we're asking right now. So if you think about what is science, whether it's psychology or physics or biology, it is typically human beings looking at data and then reaching conclusions by matching patterns. So Darwin, who looks at the finches in the Galapagos and comes up with a theory of evolution. I think AI is, over the next 10 years, and then continuing from there, going to make incredible scientific discoveries in physics, in chemistry, in math, and material sciences by looking at data and seeing patterns that we have not been able to fathom or even hold in our minds. The spirituality front, I think the older I get, or the more I experience life, the more spiritual I become, I don't know how AI is going to do that, or solve that, or interface with that, not solve it, but interface with that. So I'll leave it at that. I mean, I find that a fascinating subject, but I have no idea. Do you have an idea? I think it's worth it. I mean, listen, I think we can apply AI to almost anything. Even that. Sir.
Yeah, I mean, my number is actually after someone, but I have some idea about the topic. I will discuss after some. So what my study of AI for 6 years and spirituality tells us that she asked about mind and body. But like till now, like we exit the body, right? I know in future it may not happen as we saw. We exit the mind and the body. So the mind and body don't belong to us. We are something beyond the mind and body, and that is the only thing we are as of now. What I understand. Yeah, I mean, you asked the question. Yeah. So the mind and body don't belong to us. Like they are temporary. I mean, as per the word of metaphysics, quantum physics, they also suggest towards that point. So as of now, AI doesn't have that component till we find a way to put it into it, which might be a bit difficult from what I see how things are.
I mean, one of the big questions is AI going to become conscious? Is AI going to be viewed as an independent life form? And I think intelligence is very different from consciousness. Intelligence is going to be different from a spiritual being. Is consciousness a manifestation of a level of information that's gathered and sufficiently large and self-reflective and become conscious? I mean, I think one of the things that's going to happen is we're going to start to discover what does it truly mean to be human when we start to differentiate these things. It's not a field that I know, and I think here in India is a perfect place for there to be this investigation to happen. I'm fascinated by the subject, but I do not know.
Thank you. Last question.
Yeah. Hi, Peter.
Hello.
I'm on the right. You're right. Yeah.
Okay. Hi.
So, Peter, I had two questions, similar theme. One is, with access to this technology, which you went through the future that is coming, do you see a divide in demographics between people in the world who have access to this technology and those who will not have access? Because the rate of technology being, advanced is so much that those without access, can they be left behind? And the second part is...
We'll keep it one. We need to rush.
No worries.
Thank you.
So that's a really important question. I do think that these technologies are democratizing forces, right? One thing I take to heart is that there are 7 billion smartphones on the planet. And those smartphones are the gateway to these technologies, right? And as I said, it's fascinating to me that the most powerful technologies in the world, like Google search, like Gemini, like these generative AI models, are free. So there's a difference between access and knowledge of the ability to use it. But these tools are also able to help an individual learn recursively on their own. The tool enables you to learn how to use the tool. I think that control is a different thing, right? So one of the questions is, will India have its own large language model, right? And I think it should. One of the things I've spoken about before is there's a window during which the government and the entrepreneurs should be going out to capture all of the non-digitized data in India. India has got, you know, massive diversity of culture. You know, grandmother's stories, this person's recipes, these folklores, and I think there is a need for you to go as a nation state to capture this content digitally and have that create the large language model which represents all of India. You can imagine 20 years from now, if you tried to do it then, you've lost 20 years of societal memories. So one of the things I've spoken about on different stages is this cultural aggregation mission that every culture needs to do, especially ones that like Africa, like India, like parts of China, where all of this is not easily, hasn't been digitized yet. Anyway, I will leave it there. Thank you, Shri.
Thank you, Peter. You know, he has to go to Gurgaon, then 2 hours session, then early morning flight. So thank you very much. Thanks to the wonderful audience. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you.